Hi everyone, it's Dave. What an amazing spell of early spring weather we've got. Must be about 19 degrees, 20 degrees at the moment. I've got the sun cream on already, sun cream in March, but you know, that's the price you pay for having pasty white skin like me. Anyway, I wanted to do this video to tell you of something that's quite revelationary, really. Is that a word, revelationary? A revelation, I don't know. Anyway, as you probably know, been on holiday in the Peak District with Sarah for the last few days. We got back yesterday, we had a lovely time. Perfect weather like this, great food, some lovely pints of real ale, some great walks, and just immersing ourselves really in that quiet, idyllic, rural English way of life. Lovely, enjoyed it so much. Back now, off for a couple more days. We're doing a barbecue later. So I'm just out on a walk now. But anyway, what's the revelation? Well, the revelation is I've not interacted at all with any traditional mainstream, not that I do that much anyway, or alternative new media at all for since last Sunday night. Where are we now? So basically for a full week. I touched on this in a couple of videos that I did while I was away, if you didn't see them. But I just wanted to stress again, for anybody who's not trialed this, who's not tried this, that the world still turns without us having to know every latest development or possible development. And the ease and kind of calmness that I have at the moment, I know is due mostly to this phenomenon. And I always knew there was going to come a time where I would completely take a step back. Now I've explained why that is. When I say take a step back from being what I would say active, apart from doing these videos. I've explained why that is before, but I'll just explain again, because all the stuff that's been in the news recently, the Ukraine-Russia stuff, is not something I can get to the truth of. It's not. I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. It's not my responsibility, and there's nothing I can do to influence it. The same with the scare stories that we're building about the economy and the fuel price increases and the food price increases and the rampant inflation and all the rest of it, which clearly is happening because I can see that. But the last few days, I can honestly say I haven't got a clue what's going on, and I don't care, because I care about affecting my world and the people in my world in as positive a way as I can. And when I say my world, that includes what I'm doing right now, my YouTube channel. So let me try and explain a little bit more. I tell you about how liberating it is. Now, we have to remember that history may also will probably judge everybody as being slightly mad in terms of how consumed they all became by information, how obsessed they became with information. Now, this includes a lot of people, includes me as well. History will judge as the heroes, the ones who stood up and continue to stand up, and history will generally judge this generation now, generally speaking, most people, shambolically, terribly. But when the COVID bollocks first started and the first lockdown started and the masks came in, that was when I started my YouTube video, and that was, again, I've talked about this before. I just had I can only describe it as an inner calling, that I had to do something. I could see how evil it was, and I could see it. I always talk about truth is what you can see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. It's what you can see, and that's truth. Nothing else is truth, really. Everything else is a representation of somebody else's truth. Whereas truth for me is what I can see right now, and what I could see, whether it was in the policies, whether it was in the actual lockdowns itself, whether it was in the rapid change in people's behaviour and the rapid degeneration of society. What I could see was something truly dark, and I could see it. So I had to do something about it, and I did do something about it. Now, very sadly, months and months later, 18 months after it started, after everything I did, my dad fell victim to what is the greatest crime that's ever been committed in the history of the world. You know about that story as well. And the battle goes on. And the battle that we have certainly is going on. But going back with regard to getting justice, going back to what I was saying, I think we're at a point in this, we could call it evolutionary process, but it's probably more of a revolutionary process, because we are living through a revolution at the moment. And it's a multi-pronged revolution. There's certainly been a political revolution, an economic revolution, certainly a health, a social revolution, but there's also a media revolution taking place. And a lot of you, I think would agree with this, that the traditional mainstream media, whilst it still has a lot of power, is becoming less and less trusted by many people, and it's being replaced by the kind of thing that I'm doing, like an alternative or new media, or whatever you want to call it. Some people call it truth media, whatever. But my understanding is that the aims of the people who have also stood up and done what's right to take on evil and to protect basic freedoms, particularly for children, is that we recognise the danger that we're in. We're aware of the bigger picture, the Great Reset, the UN Agenda 2030, all the rest of it, that big umbrella of objectives, very, very dark and sinister objectives. And that to counter that, the way forward is to somehow extricate ourselves as best we can from the system, and particularly from information. Now, my understanding would be that is going to be done through not being enslaved by information, no matter what that information is, by developing local links, by connecting to people in our local area, by seizing back control of our individual sovereignty, by exploring ways to break out the system and to create a parallel society. Now, we cannot do that. It's impossible to do that whilst there's still millions and millions of people on Telegram groups obsessively sharing information about problems. It's interesting because, for me, I've noticed, and this is part of the revelation that I've had, probably too strong a word, revelation, because I really just call it common sense. Step away from information, and your mind's gonna feel freer. You're gonna feel less stress. You're gonna be spending more time out here. I've noticed recently that I've personally felt, particularly when I've been doing these videos, that I've maybe not been as insightful as I'd like to be. I've maybe not been as articulate as I'd like to be. I've maybe not been exploring in a creative way different themes and ideas in the way that I know I can do. And I think it's been something to do with information overload, all the stress of dealing with what's gone on in the aftermath of my dad's death, and that's something separate. And almost like a bit of an like an intellectual block. Like I've got to a kind of like a plateau where I feel like I'm not exploring new ground, you know, breaking new ground and coming up with new ideas and creating great, you know, content that I know I can do. This is only my personal perspective. Yours might be totally different. Now, if you think about it, when does true creativity arise? True creativity arises when we have stillness, when we have quiet and calm, like this. Often creative ideas strike me when I am by myself. I might be driving around in the car, no music on, nothing, or it could be in the shower in the morning, just something, or it can be out in nature. True creativity, what is it that inspires us? Nature, ultimately, I think, is where we draw inspiration from, because I think it shows the way, because it binds together, it makes everything make sense. It teaches us. So stillness, calmness, connecting with nature. And I do that, as you know. You'll know from my videos, but I could do it even more. And the other element, to this is to go back to what I was saying at the start. We are quite clearly in a lot of people call it a spiritual war. I can't think of any better way to say it. So whatever spirituality or transcending to something bigger than you is, tapping into something bigger, whatever it is, there is a battle of energies going on at the moment. There are dangers ahead. It's up to us to create the opportunities to navigate away through the fog of confusion. And it's how that plays in our own lives. So I do think and I don't know what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, and like I say, I explain now why it's not my responsibility. I don't not care, but I don't care more about that than anything else. And really all I care about, genuinely, if I'm being honest, is, like I say, my own world, which is my friends and family and the people that I create content for and try and provide value for. Which is why the idea of the greater good, which has always been used as a reason to implement tyranny in any country across the world, it's always for the greater good, is such a backward idea, because there is no such thing as the greater good. A, who gets to decide it? B, what is it? The greater good, it's not about the greater good, it's about creating greatness within and around us. That's what my idea of a good life is taking responsibility for ourselves and the people around us, to create a harmonious environment, to improve ourselves and to offer value to those around us, to show that real care and charity. Because if we can't do it if we can't be that good person for those people around us, we're certainly not going to be able to do it for anybody 1,000 miles away. It's such a flawed concept. I remember doing a book actually just on that note in school, Bleak House by Charles Dickens, and you know, he satirises a number of different institutions, the political system, the legal system, religion, and he also castigates fake charity as well. I always remember her. One of the characters, I can't remember what she was called, but she had, obviously living in Victorian England, seeing abject poverty all around it, including her own children. But she was virtue signalling about some far-flung cause, because she was a charitable person. You know, she was a great, kind person who was making sure everybody knew that she was, whilst at the same time ignoring the abject poverty, as I say, that her own children were living in. So virtue signalling's always existed. It's no different now. I think it just seems worse now because it's amplified by social media. So I guess the two words here are creativity and responsibility. I want creativity to return to me, and I understand how that's going to happen. And it's by tapping out of the information. I really hate it. There is an element of confusion and contradiction and I guess hypocrisy to this, which is a bit of a paradox really, that I still haven't quite worked out, in that I'm contributing to that. However, as I always try to explain, I prefer interacting with, when I do interact with content that is created by somebody themselves, not something that's been regurgitated and just, you know, gone viral. You know, I don't like Twitter. I think if ever there was an emblem for the age, it's Twitter. You know, the platform for very often very angry, knee-jerk, ignorant opinion. You know, there's a limit on what you can say in a tweet. What is it, 100 and something characters? I don't really understand what Twitter has ever really added to the well of knowledge and creativity and, you know, abundance of ideas. I think it's toxic. So I prefer myself to interact with content that's been done by people who have expressed creativity through creating that content, if that makes sense. So creativity, and then responsibility. What are we responsible for and what are we not responsible for? Who are we responsible for and who are we not responsible for? I am not responsible for Ukrainian refugees. I am not. I am responsible for myself. I'm responsible for getting my own health in order, first of all. I'm responsible for growing as a person. I'm responsible for being a better person for those around me, better than I am now. And I'm better now than I was, and I know I am, but I can be better. That's what I'm responsible for. That's my responsibility. I was responsible for taking a stand against tyranny when I could do something about it, via non-compliance, via doing my YouTube videos, via raising the alarm, via spreading the message, all those things that I've done. I'm not responsible for increasing fuel. What am I going to do about that? I'll try and come up with some intelligent solutions to that instead. It's all part of the Great Reset and the plans that are, you know, that are attempted to be put into place. Sometimes we need to take them head on, and other times we need to go, right, the best way for us to counter this darkness and this evil is to live free lives. We need to remember that, and I really think that a lot of people don't get that. This is just my opinion, feel free to disagree. We are at the stage in this evolution or revolution, whatever you want to call it, where we are moving from one age into another, whereby at some point the priority has to be real life, not online. It has to be. It has to be connection rather than information. And it has to be local community. So the last week for me has been liberating, because it's shown to me that I wonder what might have been worrying about if I was on all the Telegram groups and looking at people's Twitter and just checking the mainstream to see what lies and bollocks they're coming out with every now and again. And don't get me wrong, I think I've become much. I don't really interact with that much media, you know, anyway. But cutting it down to absolutely zero, I feel a calmness, I feel a confidence, I feel a sense of optimism almost. And I'm just doing this video to say, please do give it a try yourselves. Just be very circumspect and saying careful about how much and who you listen to. I mean, feel free not to listen to me, obviously. You know, it's because we really need to foster and to tap into that well of ideas. Now's the time to do this, and to return and to practice and to just remember and immerse ourselves in the most simple things in life. in real life. Remember, we have control over our lives. Do not allow that idea that we will be controlled to get into your head. If we genuinely believe in what we're doing, and we genuinely don't give a toss what others think about it, and we genuinely do try and create this new world by doing the things that I've suggested, and this is my idea, we will defeat tyranny. We will. So there we go. Do let me know what you think of this video, whether you agree with me or not, and don't forget to subscribe. And have a great day. Enjoy the rest of this weather, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.